All right, let's get started, Andy. We are going to kick off the session. I will introduce myself, and we're going to have 1 minute for your pitch. All right.
Okay.
So Andy's joining us from Italy right now. We're going to kick off the session. All right. So Andy, my name is Singh. I am an ed tech investor looking at some really cool ideas. Tell me more about what you're working on, sir.
So at 5 years old, children decide they love or hate mathematics. The Singapore approach is data proven to be the best way to learn maths as anywhere in the world. It's expensive but inhibitive for most of the world market. I'm Andy Ridgway, a former international school head teacher. The co-founder is Judy Hornigold, who's a world specialist author in this area and is a particular specialist in dyslexia and dyscalculia. We've devised a multilingual intuitive learning program that can be taught anywhere in the world and fit into any curriculum in the world due to the modular nature. Our characters used are diverse and inclusive, and we devised a holistic program with support for the parents and for the teacher and an intuitive platform for the children. We benefit children and adults worldwide who are learning their own language, currency, and as Richard Skemp stated, like it examples they relate to. We've also got AI running the back of the program to guide teaching and learning, not simply for adaptive questioning. The e-learning market is projected to be worth 726 billion by 2026. It's grown 400% in the last 12 months, and it's the fastest growing market in the sector. We're a scalable SaaS product, and we're looking for £500,000 for our seed investment round.
Got it. All right. Thank you very much. Let's unpack it. I know that there's been some people on the chat. Feel free to give feedback on it. Andy, you were speaking very quickly. Very quickly. You were really excited to get all that information out. So I want to come back to the pitch, and again, part of this is from a fundraising perspective as well as, you know, how we're thinking, right? What's the going through our mind, and what is that the catch element? So the thing is again, I would pace it slower for sure, right? Like definitely pace it slower, especially for Asian investors and people where English might not be their first language. But more importantly, I want to understand, you know, you talked about the Singapore math, it's proven, right? You know what I mean? And then you went into you know, you've built a platform, right? That education piece. I felt like the story on Singapore math was just Singapore math has been proven, right? Now, I have Singaporean kids, and my son is currently here in Canada right now, and for some reason he's the top math student in his class, right? I understand how Singapore math works, but that's because I have invested the time, right, Andy? Most of the investors that you're talking to, let's elaborate on Singapore math for a second. Why? Give me the history, or why is it so good, right? Why is it so good?
It's so good, Ash, because it's based on the CPA approach that's concrete, pictorial, abstract. And now naturally, kids early years do this naturally. The thing is, as you go up primary school, it's less and less. So there's no more manipulatives, no more base 10s, you know, like Cuisenaire, etc. So you're not using these things. Typically use these things in early years and less so in primary school. 10, 11 years old, long forgotten.
CPA, pictorial, visual, CPA, abstract. What was the first one?
Exactly. Pictorial, concrete, pictorial, abstract, CPA approach. And it's very simple, but it's like actually gives a deeper understanding of mathematics. And what you find is that as you grow up primary school, you use this less and less and less. And this system says you need to keep doing this. You need to keep using this manipulatives and for a better understanding of mathematics.
Now, why do they stop using it later on, Andy? Why not keep on doing it? Like, why has the world stopped doing it? Why does it stop at grade 5 or grade 10 or whatever?
And you're dead right. I could ask the same thing. I do my master's degree in this area as well, in the Singapore approach to mathematics. Go any curriculum worldwide, Ash. You got America, Canada, UK, Thailand, doesn't matter. They all naturally, as teachers, they move away from this approach and they go towards picture, question, question, question. You think for when we were kids, there was just pages and pages of questions without that sort of deeper inquiry-based learning and more, you know, collaboration as part of the learning. And what we've done is actually use the EdTech as a platform. We've not simply that I see at the moment is we've not simply scanned a book and put a book online. We've actually got like an ed tech as the platform saying you got to be using manipulatives. You've got in every lesson, it says the teacher we're doing like equivalent fractions. It's got to be paper plates, like get some apples in there, like get some pieces of paper, some paper circles, etc. So you're using ed tech as a platform, not simply scanned a book to say this is online learning. No, it's not. That's just a book that's online,
So, Andy, it begs the question, right? It begs the question on where the world is actually going, right, Andy? Because when I look at what you're trying to do, I'm thinking about, you talked about inquiry-based learning, right? And so, one of the hot topics right now in the industry is generative AI, right? Everyone's been playing on Chat GPT and all of the other fun stuff, Midjourney and all that fun stuff. So my question to you, Andy, is like, when we think about inquiry-based learning and the fact that AI can now generate pictorials, right? It can generate, and it can be even very localized, Andy, right? Like I can learn mathematics just on my Manchester United branded, you know what I mean? Everything is Manchester United now. So it's kind of fun, you know what I mean? If we wanted to. Does that make sense? Tell me about how that comes together. And then the other thing I want to be able to understand is, why is math important, not just to get marks and get into university, but why is math important now for humanity? So those are my two questions.
I think one, so let's address the first one, and was about like we did it in a very good way. We've designed every single lesson we've built around leadership qualities. So things you're going to need post-education. That's the reality.
Okay.
So you're looking at, we've used things like collaboration. So every single lesson has got a focus, deeper level of understanding at the end. The end last task is more inquiry based. So we've got like, you're working in groups and you're working on collaboration, creativity, communication, so there's all these different elements of leadership and skills you're going to need post-school in an inquiry format. So they're actually focusing on certain areas and then helping the teacher, because typically your teachers in primary school are not your mathematicians. And then if you go to, that's why we're giving them actually stellar maths program and stellar maths lessons. Ask these questions, ask questions to the kids that's going to, really make them think. Now, it's a problem for humanity because no matter which way you go around it, maths is key. You're going to have a massive problem. UK right now is putting £561 million over 3 years into adult numeracy. And for now, Rishi Sunak's gone to 18. Don't go to 18. Do it right when they're the right age. If you do it right in primary school, you don't need to go to 18 years old in maths, Ash. So it becomes a fundamental problem in humanity because you've got that lack of quality education. Now, for us, we've done it to say like that it's far too expensive. International school head teacher, it's far too expensive. My kids can afford it when I was an international head because we had a big budget. But it's not correct that only rich kids should have the right to learn mathematics this way. So what we say is like numeracy is so fundamental in everything we do. Not that you have to know about fractions, but actually that numerical conception understanding is really important.
I'm part of, the reason I brought up the generative AI is because I think part of this process, obviously it's value-based and you guys have tried to make it fun. But when I think about the journey of learning, right, I see this view now that we are going to be entering a world where it's real-time learning all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
it does actually.
Right? Like my kids have connected iPads and they go to school to learn, but now they're doing Skillshare stuff. They're learning all the time. And I think this idea of kind of an AI powered co-pilot, which is I think what you talked about, right? Where kind of the level they're at, but
yes,
part of the AI learning model is being able to hit them, right? Because when a teacher starts, right, a teacher will say this kid is smart or he's not smart, and then after 10-15 years, right, Andy, like you've been an educator for a while, you kind of recognize that there's a huge spectrum of intelligence, right, and spectrum of motivation, because that's kind of how education works, right? You need just the intelligence plus motivation, and then stuff happens. Is that correct? And is that where your AI does a good job? Because you said you brought in AI, and I think in today's world, we need to describe the AI a little bit better so that people understand, because we can't just say it's on the blockchain anymore. Okay.
Yes.
Everyone that's
So
listening to this, stop saying it's on the blockchain. I think with AI, we should be talking about, like, the AI and the idea of understanding intelligence and motivation, right?
yeah, I mean, what we did, Ash, was to say, like, instead of right now, you can get very expensive, pretty decent, like AI programs, so that with a math, so it'll say, okay, they'll do adaptive questioning. That's on the market. There, it's not
Sure.
so
Yeah.
complex
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
adaptive questioning. Okay, what we did was to say, let's be a bit smart here. Through geolocation, through analytics, through using AI, we can actually give real-time feedback to the teacher in that lesson to say, this is, and then guide the teaching and learning, which is not done currently. So we can say to the teacher, the last 5 minutes of your class, I can tell you that actually your kids, 70% of your kids have struggled with adapt screen 2. When we've gone from the square to the circle, kids didn't get that concept in equivalent fractions, for example. Like, so we're actually using the AI to guide the teaching and learning rather than just adaptive questioning. That's kind of that's on the market. But
Got
what's
it.
not on the market is to say, use the AI to guide the teacher learning instead of teacher, you need to go back over this section. This is what your kids have failed to understand in that.
Understood. And so tell us a little bit about your traction, Andy. I know a lot of people are interested in what you're trying to do. Tell us about the traction and what you'd use the capital for, right? You're looking to for 500K. What would you use the capital?
Yeah. The capital we would look to, we're working hard, and we've been like to, Jess Dubai, we've been to Bangkok presenting there. Judy's going to be talking as a guest speaker in Bet London. It's the biggest EdTech conference festival worldwide. We're going out to Bangalore in India. So the traction so far, we were just recently part of a UK trade mission to Cairo and Casablanca and met the Egyptian Minister of Education. So we're looking at working at that level, but I think certainly the initial thing is working at international schools and private schools purely for cash flow, because the procurement process, I know as a head, is much slower. It's much easier, much faster than, it's a much slower process going with ministries of education and government. Exactly. So we decided, let's go for there. Let's aim at state schools, but that's a longer goal. And what we would use the money for would be to bring on a VP of sales. We also need realistically, we need I would like to set up our own workshop and bring it in-house, all the AI and tech development. Right now we're outsourcing that side of things. So it'd be great to bring that in-house. And our biggest thing would be to bring a VP of sales and actually have somebody who's got a bit more like business development side of things. I did that as a head teacher and was good at turning around failing schools, but I'm an educator, and really it'd be good to have somebody of that background. And we also need a kind of an FD. We've not really got a financial director in the company. We're lacking a financial and the VP of sales.
And so we put this process in place. Paint me a picture of, you have this integrated in, 30 to 50% of the schools in Canada. How does that outcome change? How does society change, Andy, with your success? If this hasn't been integrated, and, we've seen, Andy, you've spent some time in Singapore. You've seen how people there work because they're strong in math, right? What kind of outcomes it changes. Paint us a picture. I'm curious from your perspective, because you're not a Singaporean, right? And you're seeing that, but I'm curious about like what you've seen in Singapore. Okay.
Yeah.
And because of Singapore math, how that's improved a society, okay, in hopefully in a positive way. And how do you think that impact would be made in a place like London, right, or England, right? Suppose they had the same process in place. How does it improve society? Because you talked about financial literacy, right? And improvements around that. I think, understanding the numbers is important, but tell me more about this. Like, where does this go, right? For a society. Go ahead.
Look at the higher. If you look on a higher level, really, Ash. Singapore did it, in maybe in the 80s. So 40 years ago now, Singapore wasn't at the top. It's not because you're Singaporean, you're a good mathematician. That doesn't work. People think that now because things have come on a long way. 40 years it wasn't the case. Singapore was even importing water. They had nothing. It's the only country who got independence and didn't even want it. So what they did was they invested in human capital, in actually their human capital, and say, okay, we need to invest in the people in this country because there was very little else as as a product to sell from there, you know, like, so
Yes.
they invested in human beings, and they raised their level of education. You cannot produce a book or any educational products in Singapore that's not CPA, concrete, pictorial, abstract. They are 100% behind that fact that that's got to be. All you did then was raise the level of numeracy, because they had a very strong maths program. They looked around the world and got the best things from everywhere. They used called the Cock-Off report. They looked at what was good in the UK, what was good in Finland, what was good in, you know, etc., and raised their level of education. Because they invested in a high level investment in the education system, they then got very highly qualified people to get to export and to go and work around the world, as we know with Singapore. You know, one, you raise the level of numeracy. Second, you're raising the level of your people to actually go and work in higher skill jobs.
Yeah.
And what we did was we actually built that into our work-based learning as far as our leadership skills and stuff, to say we're making these people more employable. We're giving them creativity, work on collaboration, communication. These are skills you need to work on when you're post school. But by then you've not got in your job.
Yeah.
You know.
And Andy, your pitch was good, but when I think about concrete, pictorial, and abstract, I'm trying to paint the future of how we think about the future of work, right? And we think about, you know, AI is a big topic right now, right? You know, everyone's looking at AI and say, hey, is my job going to be there? And the idea of leveraging mathematics and understanding the concept of CPA, right? Concrete, pictorial, and abstract, and being able to package it in a way is going to allow you to build your brain and your capacity up to enable you to think, you know what I mean, differently from the machines. Is that correct, Andy?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, no doubts. And I mean, yes, everything we've done so far, people, I mean, even going back to the traction, you look at, we're a scalable SaaS product. We're working with, Serpro in Brazil, looking at, sponsors on a national level, giving us a present to the incoming Minister of Education. We're looking at the style of learning, even to what you said then, looking at Indonesia for adult learning. So adults are learning over the shoulder of their kid. Today's their level of mathematics, level of numeracy. So there's all these things and attraction going on to actually, various different formats around the world. I could tell half an hour on the traction we've had so far, Ash.
So, Andy, I'm going to pitch your idea back to you, okay? Love where things are going. I'm going to try and pitch your idea just to kind of give you a couple of different sound bites for you to consider as you're talking to investors. I think that there's a beautiful impact investment opportunity with what you're doing, and I want to change the direction around what you're doing a little bit around this to see where things go. Okay. So this is more of an impact investor, because these are probably the people that would be more interested, because it's not just the return on investment, which you guys are doing really well. It's about societal impact and how mathematics is going to improve and change the dynamics of society.
Yes, our first two shareholders, Ash, are both impact investors. They've invested, but they're there for the long story, and they get the whole.
Exactly, right. And that's why we're here too. I mean, we love what you're doing as well, and we believe it, not just because of what you're saying, but when I remember when I was young, growing up here in Canada, there were all these Asian kids. Some of them came from Singapore and Shanghai and Korea, and they were all like, I thought I was good at math until I hit high school, and then all these kids came and they were, you know what I mean? And so Andy, it was really funny when I sold my first company. I sold it to an agency in Singapore, and I'm like, wait a second, if I stick around, I can create one of those kids, right? And Andy, it's really funny because I'm having this conversation with you, and my son just got his report card yesterday, right? Okay. This Singaporean kid in Canada right now, and he's the top math student, right? And I was looking at his mark, and I'm like, wow, it actually worked. Do you know what I mean? He's 12 years old now, but I just thought I would share this, and that's why I personally understand that. And whether it's confidence, knowing your numbers financially, when you know your numbers, the number one reason why divorces happen is because of financial issues. Do you know what I mean? Number one reason why startup founders fail is because of cash flow modeling. There's all these different elements, but knowing your numbers is so critically important. But
I think the one thing we do miss, Ash, is that link back to Singapore. We're all foreign, it'd be great to get some sort of Singapore bank or Singapore behind us because of what we're doing.
100%. I mean, Andy, you could do what I did, right? If you really need a link, you can just go do what I did. I married a local Singaporean, but I don't know if that's available to you right now, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but we're going to make that link for you. Okay, Andy, right? We're going to drive those components and make sure that happens, because I think it's important there. And it's not just Singapore Inc., but the Singapore education process, right? So we'll make sure that happens, and we'll take that offline. But I'm going to give you a pitch, if that's okay, Andy. I'm going to give you a different pitch around big picture and how the world is evolving and changing, right? So it's going to be a little bit longer, Andy, just because I want you to have the sound bites, but it's a better from an impact investment. So I need you to introduce yourself, and I'm going to try to do my best to kind of give you a slightly different pitch. Okay.
Okay, sure. I'm Andy Ridgway from Granger Investments, and we're interested in investing in some edtech.
Excellent. Andy, my name is Singh. I'm from Everybody Counts. You may or may not know this, but over the last 20, 30 years, the whole education world has shifted. If you look at the top ranking students on the planet, most of them, the #1 ranking country now is in Singapore. And part of that is because of their approach to mathematics. You might have heard of Singapore math, the idea of CPA, the concrete, pictorial, abstract approach to explaining concepts. And this has revolutionized how they approach education, mathematics, but also how their society now has evolved. And if you look at Singapore as a country, how it's taken off, a lot of it has to do with the fact of how they've invested and how they've educated their people. And so what we've tried to do as educators ourselves, we've all had more than 25 years of experience in the space. We want to take that technology and bring it to every classroom, whether it's a developing country, a developing third-tier city in India, all the way through to an Oxford-based private school. We want to bring Singapore math and that whole concept, along with the strong values, to help ignite and improve the financial literacy, the numbers, the mathematical literacy, not just to see the results that we've seen in Singapore, but when we think about where the future is going with artificial intelligence and all the jobs that are available, it's the people that are really strong in this that are going to be the people that are going to be co-piloting artificial intelligence and building the new frontiers of different industries around the world. So I want to talk to you about the $500,000 raise that we're doing right now. We've got tons of traction from institutions around the world, but we want to be able to make this and do this right and really create a global platform that's going to make a difference, not just for a child's mathematical education so they can improve their family outcomes, but society in general and help elevate the world. Thank you. Okay. Andy, how was that?
Yeah, thanks. That's yes, totally different, but good. Some good points. Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
This is for impact investors now. This is kind of the way we're going to be going in that direction. You know what I mean? The impact investment.
Yeah, I totally get you. We were so far kind of looking at problem, solution, like that in 1 minute to
yeah. No problem. You got it. And then you know what? If we're talking somebody that's doing a little bit more AI, you can have this beautiful conversation that generative AI is going to allow us to have a real-time chatbot so that when any time the child wants to learn and we can have the right amount of motivation and intelligence, and we use AI and the visuals and all of that stuff to level them up, you go down that path. Do you get what I'm saying? And I think it's fantastic. These elements need to be here. Andy, you need this product in Canada, in North America. I'll tell you, people are struggling here, right? Do you know what I mean? Andy, if my son is the top math student at one of the top schools here in Toronto, there's a problem, right? If you know my genetic background and my gene pool, right? Which we're going to improve because we have a gut biome and all these other, we have another startup working on that, but that's a different conversation, Andy. But I want to make sure that this works. Do you get what I'm saying? This is totally. This, Andy, for you and your team is your life's work. Do you get what I'm saying? Right?
Yes, totally.
When I look at it, there are some people that come up with products and services, which is great, make $100 million for yourself or 10 million, whatever you need, but Andy, you can be recognized when we think about what's happened in Singapore. And unless somebody actually goes to that country, right, and sees it and talks to the people. And I spent 15 years there, right, Andy, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and unless they do it, we have to not sell, we just have to help them visualize, right, what it's going to do and how it starts to change. And when you look at demographic details, GDP and all these other components, productivity, it's amazing, right? And it
yeah.
comes back to some of the fundamental elements, right? And I think access to education is just so critical, right? And I think math is the cornerstone. So I really like where you're going with this, Andy, and anything that we can do. We have to get that Singapore piece solved for you. That's an easy element, but let's see how we can drive the elements and make sure that the universe understands how this can help, right? And everybody counts, right? That's
Yeah,
the name
yeah,
of
yeah.
your business, right? That's now it hit me. I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? Everybody counts, right? So Andy, I want to thank you again for your time. I know we're at the top of the hour. I know we went a little bit long today. It took some time to unpack some of the other companies, but it was a pleasure. Andy, congratulations as well, and we look forward to being part of
Thank
your
you. Thank you.
success. All right. On
Thank you.
behalf of the Hyper Accelerator, Mitch, Paul, Olga, the rest of the team, we want to thank you guys all for your time today. Take care, stay safe, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Thank you.
bye.